Hey everybody, welcome back. Mike from Spectre Comics here. We're going to jump right back into our Halloween-themed October with Oogie Boogie from A Nightmare Before Christmas. About a week ago, we drew Jack Skellington. We did a step-by-step tutorial, and we're going to try to do that same kind of video with Oogie Boogie. So I'm grabbing my drawing pad, my mechanical pencil, a couple of inking pens, and my trusty eraser, because I need it a lot, and walk through how to draw Oogie Boogie. So let's jump right into it. So Oogie Boogie is basically a potato sack with arms and a pointy head, and because of that, he's a little more complicated to draw than he appears. And so we're going to start out just by sketching kind of a billowy triangle, because he's basically, with his pointed head and his pointy feet, which are basically the bottoms of the potato sack, he's basically just kind of this blobby character. So I'm just kind of drawing a very loose, sketchy triangle to kind of just get the body shape down, and his head's kind of tilted, so pointing the head over with the top of his head kind of leaning over. And then I'm going to draw two arms, and the arms are also just kind of very loose triangular shapes as well. One of them is just going to be pointing down, and his left arm is actually going to be kind of upholding a pair of dice, because if you're familiar with the movie, he rolls a lot of dice to kind of see if who's going to get the next punishment. So again, we're keeping it very loose and sketchy just to get the body shape down. And then once we get into the detail, it'll kind of start looking more like Oogie Boogie. So he's got very dark slits for eyes, very creepy eyes, pointed down kind of to create kind of this scowl. And we're just outlining the little slits of his eyes and then creating little kind of brows over each eyes. And I'm kind of giving him a sinister look. And we started out real sketchy. We're still sketchy, but we're kind of filling in the detail as we go. He's got his open mouth. Now, Oogie Boogie usually, he's got those little worms for teeth in his mouth. Not going to draw that stuff. But in order to get the kind of burlap sack look in his mouth, we're going to continue around the shape of his mouth with some folds. We're getting his cheeks and his neckline in here, and the neck basically goes right into the burlap bag, right into his body, and then kind of giving his head a little bit of shape as it goes into the point. So again, filling in the mouth, getting a little folds. He doesn't really have teeth or anything other than the little worm teeth, but we're giving the opening, because again, it's like a burlap sack, just a little bit of folds to kind of show the openings, the way that burlap would fold over. Just putting a little sketch, a little darkness into his eyes and his mouth, and then finalizing the lines, getting a little more detailed as we go along and draw the shape of his head. And notice again, I'm erasing as I go. Once I get the shape, since I was really sketchy with the shape, I was really unclear, it was very undefined how I was going to shape his body. But as I get a little more detail in, I'm able to erase and finalize the lines, get them a little sharper. There's points in the movie also where he's got a little spider that comes out of the tip of his head. So I'm just showing that spider there. We're going around and drawing the arm again, cleaning up the lines as we go, and becoming, getting the shape a little more accurate. The way his arms are drawn, the arms should, it should be as if the arms connect behind his head. So you'll notice that where I drew his arm, the shoulder it's as if you were drawing a curved line through his face, and that should be the other shoulder. We're just working on the left side of his body right now. And again, he is kind of a fat potato sack, but he's got very pointy feet that are kind of the edges of the bag. Now, notice what I'm doing here with the shoulders. I'm basically taking the line as if it would go through the head and connect on the other side, and those are both shoulders. And then we're just getting his left arm is kind of going to be curved, bent at the elbow and pointed upwards, and again, he's going to be holding a pair of dice to roll the dice on anyone who is unfortunate enough to be in his capture. So he doesn't really have any sort of hands. It's just kind of the edges of the burlap sack are malleable, so you can shape them into whatever you need. So basically creating a very basic hand that is holding the dice. And again, cleaning up the lines as we go, erasing the lines. Now, what I use a 0.7 mechanical pencil. Again, I use mechanical pencils when I draw because I like the consistency of the pencil, and I don't have to sharpen it frequently because you do wear down a pencil the more you draw with it. Also in the areas around his shoulders and his hands and up his forearm, and again down the side of his body, we're going to be adding in the basically like a seam line, and then the stitching, which is part of his costume, part of his body. He is a sewn up burlap bag after all. So again, what we're doing here, and I also use a couple of different erasers. I've got my white Staedtler eraser, which as an architect, that is a standard issue piece of drafting tools. And I use also, many years ago, I bought this fine pointed eraser. It's still a white eraser, but it comes to a finer point, and it actually kind of extends out like you click it at the top, and it extends out like a mechanical pencil. So I can erase a little finer tips instead of the fat white regular eraser. So this is basically the pencil drawing. Again, we added a lot of detail. There's a couple of little ripples in his potato sack body. Oogie Boogie, it'd be a little more apparent if he was being colored in. Most of my drawings we do just black and white line work. So I showed a couple of ripples in his body to kind of show the folds in the potato sack. But we're going ahead and inking. I'm using 2 inking pens. I'm using a 0.8 pen thickness on a Prismacolor Premier inking pen, and I'm also using again the same 2 pens I used on the Jack Skellington video. There'll be a link in the description below if you haven't seen that video. But the Pentel sign pen, which again it's not really an inking pen, and actually it's already starting to run out of ink, so I got to get some more. But I like that pen because it has a thick edge, but also when it's brand new, it has a nice fine point, so you can get very precise lines with it. So we're using the 0.8 pen to get the finer detail. Again, in this drawing, there's not a lot of fine detail, so a 0.8 actually gives me enough detail, and then the fatter sign pen will help me thicken the outside lines. The thickness of the line weights always help create a little sense of depth of the character, but also you get a nice fine line with it, nice thick line, and it allows you to smooth the line as you draw. So you can see me going over and over the same areas, just trying to smooth out the line, so you don't get the jagged edge and the disconnected lines. So we're just going inking the outside outline of his body and thickening up those lines, and then keeping the stitching in the eyes and the mouth and the spider and the smaller details using the fine 0.8 ink pen to get those smaller details. We'll also ink the dice the same way, and then we're again just inking the folds of his little potato sack costume there. And of course, with the stitching, we're going to use the fine pen as well. So I'm drawing this really fast, but the lines are pretty precise once you get to the inking stage. I mentioned this also in the Jack video, that you want to be very final with your lines and very deliberate when you're inking, so that the lines are sharp and clean. And in a normal case, and I didn't do this here, but in a normal case, once you're done inking, you'd run the eraser over the drawing. And this is, again, why I am drawing on a pad of paper here. But usually I would draw on my tablet, and then I would just turn off the layer that was the pencil layer, because then it's really clean. In the case when you're drawing on paper, you don't get to clean up as easily because it does tend to smear across the page. So this is the final drawing. This is what Oogie Boogie looks like. Like the Jack image, I added a little orange to give it a little Halloween color to it. And this was a nice quick drawing, and it turned out well. I hope you had fun following along and were able to follow along pretty easily. So that's it for this video on how to draw Oogie Boogie. Hope you had fun following along. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Again, there will be more Halloween videos. My next video is going to be Jack's dog Zero, and then we're also going to do a Sally video that I've already planned to do in the next week or so. So don't forget to like the video, hit the thumbs up button, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those other videos. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.